You might not think of ogres as a faction that can kite, but in fact they're fairly well set up for it. They've got great artillery chariots. Even their ranged monstrous infantry is faster than most infantry at 42 speed. Not crazy fast, but still can kite somewhat. Here today, Lenorm is going to be counter-kiting with the Kings of Kite, or one of them at least. Dark Elves have some of the best kite tools in the game. One of them is right here, the Scourge Runner Chariots, anti-large AP. They're great as chariots, which isn't super applicable in this matchup, but they still will be quite good at range here. Also got some Cold One Knights protecting the flanks. Sisters of Singing Doom, of course, 5 Dread Spears. Got some Dark Riders and Cold One Dread Knights over on this side as well. Morathi flying about in the air. Anti-large armor piercing and Soul Stealer, both of which will be reasonably applicable here, although she is quite squishy, so gotta be careful of that. Some more Dark Riders for the Ogres. We saw the Iron Blaster there at the start. We've also got a Scrap Launcher, so 2 Artillery Chariots, both 66 speed, and can make solid contact with squishy Dark Elf units. The non-armor piercing damage of the Scrap Launcher, definitely not so much of an issue against Dark Elves. We've also got the Lead Belchers here, great at anti-infantry, decent at anti-large, are actually accurate enough to get a few solid hits there on Morathi. Some Ogre Bulls as well, scattered around, Saber-Tusk Pack, and some Trappers. A couple of Trappers in here. Regiment of Renown Crushers, the Sky Striders, looking very scary, and definitely going to be a lot to deal with. If the Scourge Runners happen to get caught by these guys, they will get absolutely destroyed with that Frostbite. 75 speed does mean they can catch. If they get their charge animation, of course, Scourge Runner's up to 84, so we'll see. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how the Sky Striders kind of factor into this, in this sort of setup with the Ogre Kingdoms here. You see that, I believe this is Central Scrutinizer playing the Ogre Kingdoms. Very solid player as well, taking a nice kind of wide stance with some units up on the high ground here, but just lots of space to work with. This is a similar to build type I've used with Beastmen in the past. Sometimes you see like a Cygor with like a big spread like this. The benefit, though, of the Ogres is, unlike the Cygor, their artillery pieces can actually run away fairly effectively. So like the Iron Blaster here, getting a little bit far forward, but Lenorm's doing a great job of concentrating his fire here and focusing on one target. Notice how the Lead Belchers are all getting focused very efficiently by those Scourge Runners, picking off models, already one model down. Scrap Launchers trying to get hits on this big blob here. The Iron Blaster, unfortunately, is having some line of sight issues, it looks like. Maybe those Noblars there are interrupting, but side-shotting through the Cold One Knights would be absolutely devastating. If you could get a good volley, that shot wasn't too solid. Kind of ended up going a little bit behind them. But let's see how it goes. These anti-large knights going to be charging in soon. We've also got the Scourge Runner Chariots moving in. Sorry about that. My cat decided to do a Khajiit invasion on my space. Anyway, different franchise. Let's get back to it. The Ogres now countercharging. Let's get in close and watch these Bulls mix it up with the Cold One Dread Knights. The Crushers also charging out there on the side. Going to absolutely demolish. And those Cold One Knights look so tiny in comparison. They're like little mouse lizards almost in comparison. That is so insane. They're so enormous, but they are going to take a decent amount of damage back in return. The Cold One Knights here, Sisters of Singing Doom, also managed to lock the Sky Striders in. That Madness of Cain, a lot of people do forget, also includes a melee defense debuff there, plus the poison. Sky Striders end up taking a lot of damage very fast and get routed. But the Ogres overall are still in a little bit of a lead here. They're managing to push back. The artillery pieces are effectively kiting here. Actually didn't see 2 Scrap Launchers. Okay, so quite a bit of artillery kite presence. And of course, really they could focus mostly the large units here and just kind of leave the infantry until the end. A lot of these Dread Spears won't really contest too well against triple single entity chariot. So as long as they can thin out the rest of these large units here, the Ogres should be in pretty good shape, but the Sky Striders, definitely a pretty big loss. This Slaughtermaster going to have to dump some healing into them to try and salvage the situation if he can. But let's see here. I assume he brought Troll Guts. Yes, in fact, did bring Troll Guts. But no Bull Gorger, interestingly enough. Would have liked to have seen that. I'm a huge fan personally. But anyway, Lead Belcher is also unloading here. Doing a little bit of friendly fire damage, perhaps, but also getting solid contact on those Cold One Knights. The Saber-Tusk Pack also moving in. So far, the Cold One Knights have done quite well, as have the Sisters of Unsung Singing Doom. here, who I've not highlighted much, but so far have managed to avoid most of the ranged dangers here. And the Ogres are now charging in, of course. Bulls will do a decent amount of damage in return, but just a high damage overall of the Sisters. A 69 melee attack, very nice, with Murderous Mastery active, up to 44 weapon strength as well, 11 AP. Yeah, that high weapon strength will cut through the light Ogre units very quickly, even though they're more meant as anti-infantry, certainly. Nice Soul Stealer here, hits multiple single entities. Love to see that, very efficient. And the Sisters of Singing Doom, of course, the Terror is a massive component. The fact that they move in, do shock damage, they get the Madness of Cain, and then terror out their opponent actually works very well against Ogres. From what I've seen in this particular matchup, I've been able to lock in a number of units and prevent them from kiting. But speaking of kiting, the artillery pieces are going to continue to fall back and shoot, scoot, and shoot, I think is the technical term here. Sky Strider's also in the distance, facing off some routing Dark Riders. Should be coming back over to fight. Slaughtermaster, though, again gets locked in by the Sisters of Singing Doom here, and is going to get engaged by Morathi. Gets beat up pretty badly and is going to have to run for the hills or risk getting absolutely clobbered here. Oh, man. Speaking of getting clobbered, though, Morathi eats a huge shot from the Iron Blaster. That being said, the spears are still quite healthy, and, you know, the Iron Blaster and the Scrap Launchers probably should focus the Sisters or the spears. The Sisters definitely as a priority target for any of these would be pretty solid, just because they're, you know, high value, low armor. The Scrap Launchers in particular, if they could get a good volley on them while they're blobbed up like this, would be very effective. Slaughtermaster's going to use a little bit of AoE magic, which certainly does some damage, but the Iron Blaster, I'm not really sure there if it had line of sight bug where it just charged into melee for no reason, but it ends up shattering, which is pretty unfortunate. Had quite a bit of ammunition left, and had it been able to continue to kite and shoot a little bit, that would have definitely benefited the Ogres greatly. Scourge Runner Chariots now running out of ammunition, so they're going to be used in melee against the Noblars as they attempt to support, but certainly Morathi in a duel against an Ogre Slaughtermaster is going to win that 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10. As the Saber Tusks move through. Been doing a decent job kind of pressuring these Scourge Runners, but the Scourge Runners, of course, have managed to use up almost all of their ammunition, with most of their unit models still alive. So definitely a tough situation, but Dismember has now been used there, slowing that pocket down, Morathi included, as well as the Scourge Runners there. Sky Striders also still operational, with even just a couple of unit models online. They are quite scary, but great interception there by Lenore, manages to catch them on the Dread Spears, even if momentarily help protect those Scourge Runners and maybe dish a little bit of additional damage there. Yeah, they are quite tanky. Decent enough melee defense. It looks like they didn't take any damage, managed to just disengage. Meanwhile, Morathi fights in the distance. But Sky Striders, again, just need a couple of unit models in contact to do an insane amount of damage. They're going to rout this Scourge Runner Chariot in a big hurry, so nice charge here from the Scrap Launcher, straight through the Dread Spears as well. I don't know. I don't know that I'd be committing these chariots into melee too much at this point. The artillery chariots, probably just trying to keep them as far away from the action as possible. Keep shooting. That Scrap Launcher, I believe, is the only one actually left. No, there's a relatively healthy Scrap Launcher here as well. Continue pressuring for the Ogres also. Slaughtermaster, quite a bit of HP as well, so it's very interesting. I'm not sure. Definitely is anyone's game at this point. Morathi has a little bit of healing cap space left. The Slaughtermaster does as well. Unfortunately, I can't see their Winds of Magic situation, though, so I couldn't tell you he's got more magic with which to heal himself or others, but certainly chasing routing units can. Not the easiest thing to do against Elves, but a nice kind of bypass with the Scourge Runners. They managed to get into the Noblar Trappers, do a great job there. Morathi charges straight into the Slaughtermaster, sort of forces a blob here, and casts a devastating Soul Stealer that's going to hit and probably finish the Sky Striders, I would imagine, or close to it. Will also do a lot of damage to the Slaughtermaster here. Morathi probably took quite a bit of pain in the process, but yeah, that actually didn't finish the Sky Striders. One is alive with about 100 HP left. A pretty unfortunate situation there, and Scourge Runners and Spears managing to finish off the Noblars, so things are looking up in some situations. Hellbrony is still fighting, poisoning out those Ogre Bulls. Got some more Noblars over there. Looks like the Scourge Runners might go try and finish them off. But, yeah, with the Ogres just generally having leadership problems, Marathi's going to move in to attempt to finish the Slaughtermaster. This one Sky Strider comes through the block here with the Noblar Scrap Launcher. And let's see. Slaughtermaster is going to move in with his one Sky Strider Lieutenant left and try and get a surround on Marathi, but just kidding, the Sky Strider is probably going to peace out. Get bumper card by the Chariots a little bit there. And, of course, Marathi with her debuffs, significantly better combat stats, 55-40. I guess not better melee defense, 30-43 with the Slaughtermaster. Massacre being used to buff up his melee defense, give him some terror. But at the end of the day, he can't hold his leadership, and he routs there. The blob of spears, obviously, helping to support. Scrap Launcher is going to try and pull away, but Marathi certainly has the speed and the armor-piercing anti-large damage to try and hunt down the Scrap Launcher. Scourge Runner Chariots are going to move through, finish off these trappers. Scrap Launcher thinks about interrupting, but wow, that was a bloody charge. That was, like, unnecessarily catastrophic. Corn is pleased, or Kane, or whatever. You know, you choose. Great replay, though. Awesome finish there. Dark Elves are able to just win on leadership by finishing off the Slaughtermaster, but overall, great game on both sides. I still think, you know, the artillery chariot thing is interesting. I really like the scrap launchers. Iron Blaster is a little bit trickier to protect. I think this is just a lot of missiles to protect here in general, but the Bulls generally perform pretty cost effectively. And I honestly think maybe you just cut the one lead belcher and take a couple more saber tusks in this build, and you suddenly have the mobility to challenge very effectively. You still have plenty of firepower. I mean, yes, lead belchers did end up doing a decent amount of damage, it must be said, but tactically, I don't know how much they actually provided here for Central Scrutinizer, but still, certainly an epic battle and very close at the end of the day. Marathi racking up almost 3,000 damage value. Sisters of Singing Doom don't pay for themselves in terms of damage output, but a few very key terror routes, and just generally being great with their, you know, Madness of Cain and other support characteristics. One of those Cold One Knights got absolutely devoured, but the others did quite well. Scourge Runners, of course, are typically going to be MVPs. Need to learn to use them effectively if you want to play Dark Elves in multiplayer. That's just kind of the long and short of things, especially in land battles. But anyway, Dark Riders and Dread Spears also kind of a mixed bag, but generally reasonably cost effective. Trappers at 625 is nice to see. Noblars in this matchup, I would imagine, and generally against Elves, they don't necessarily get the greatest value just because their poor combat stats really hurt them quite a bit in that specific matchup. But here, they managed to do okay in a couple of instances. Definitely an interesting build. Again, I don't know that the fist bump, I see people taking it, and I know people, it's almost like a meme at this point that I say you should take Bullgorger instead, but I really think you should, especially with unit like Sky Striders on the field, even with Bulls, or, you know, self-buffing the Slaughtermaster so that he can actually deal more damage against Marathi. Like, I'm not saying that the extra damage and melee attack would have made the difference between Marathi being alive and dead, but it's possible that it could. A little bit of food for thought there, and I'll leave you with that very ogre-like finish. Hopefully you enjoy. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.